I'm perusing Facebook, keeping an eye on all my friends, and seeing a repeated story that continues to be really at the forefront of everybody's mind. Obviously, it's the coronavirus, um, and as much as the virus is a big deal, the bigger deal in my framework of mind is the panic over the virus. Um, and whether or not the steps that we're taking as a society, whether or not we're doing the right thing or not, is not the point of this video. But I went to Costco's like many of you have done. I went to there twice last week, and on my second visit on a Saturday, which I should not have done. I know better than to go on a Saturday anyhow. But I guess this Saturday was like the Super Bowl shopping for people all over America. We're all out buying stuff, and our home is relatively prepared. I come from that Boy Scout mentality of be prepared. It was drilled into me as a kid, be prepared, and that kind of resurfaced for me about 7, 8 years ago. That I should be prepared. And so every time I went to the store and I was buying something that was practical or something that was a normal use item, many times if it would last any given period of time, I would buy two of them. And every time I went to buy milk, I'd buy some ammunition for the gun or something along those lines. Every time I checked out with a shopping cart, there was an item or two extra in my cart. And of course, spread out over 7, 8 years, that didn't affect anyone at all that we were doing that. And so we were relatively well prepared. I also have been working very hard, as many of you know, we've been working hard with the mentality of making our new campus in Uganda self-sufficient and the ability to grow our own food. In fact, today I got a report that we now had, for the first time, 12 eggs. It was 12 or 14 eggs in one day. That means the eggs are starting to come. The last time I got a report a couple of days ago, it was 7 eggs. So the eggs are starting to come. They will increase. Our goal is to have over 100 eggs a day produced by our chickens, and we have over 150 chickens, so that's a doable goal. We may exceed that goal, and to do it in such a way that we've reduced our food costs by having the chickens feed on top of a compost pile and having grub raising buckets so that we get free food for the chickens, and then the chickens are producing eggs. The idea is to produce an egg essentially for 1 cent a piece. And so if you know what eggs cost when you go to the store, if you buy organic eggs in the store, you know that a dozen or 18 is around $5, $6 for organic ones, and a couple bucks for cheap ones. And so to produce eggs for 1 cent a piece, that's quite a feat, even in Africa. And so what we're doing is we've been really focused overseas on getting our buildings done, getting our campuses fixed, buying a new campus, and all the remodeling that it takes. And then we were hit with, you need this permit, and you need to have these different classroom fixtures, and the kitchen needs to be set up this specific way. And so things have changed a lot, even in Africa, and it's changed for the better. I'm glad that they're putting in new systems. I'm glad that they're making new requirements, but we had to fulfill those requirements. And so when I went out shopping and there were empty shelves and a lady standing in the bread aisle talking on the phone with tears. I mean, she's literally shedding tears and she's so upset. And she's talking to her friend about how she can't believe. Now, let me say this. That lady needs to grow up, because Costco's was full of things she could have bought. And she should have been grateful for what was there, not ungrateful for what was missing. And so, there's always a solution to the problem if you look for that solution. If you're open to thinking new ideas, don't freeze up. Fear is not of God. and you don't want to freeze up. You want to be a man or woman of faith. And in fact, I believe that really this is a way of kind of taking the pacifier out of Christians' mouths all over this country, and give them a little slap back and forth and say, grow up, become mature in your faith, learn to walk by faith. And so, I remember the first time anything like this, and really remotely to have a complete panic nationwide, where people are buying toilet paper up, and now you've got a use for the used socks, that single sock that you had. And you should have had 90 days worth of toilet paper sitting in your house already. You should have had 90 days worth of supplies sitting in your house already. But that's another sermon. I won't preach to you that sermon. But the bottom line is the people rushing out to buy all this stuff are not the people who are prepared. They are the people who are panicked. And they go with a panicked attitude, or they are there to be a profiteer. I heard the story about the guy who bought up all the hand sanitizer in his whole state, drove all over the state, and then he was trying to resell it on Amazon, and Amazon shut him down, and he got so much negative press that finally he donated the hand sanitizer, which serves him right, that he had to give it away in order to get everybody off his back. So things like that are real. And I remember as a kid in the 70s, my dad had just left the church, the big church. He didn't have a salary. He didn't have an income. He was just beginning to go back out on the road and preach in different churches. And the board had given him a car for the anniversary of him being the pastor of the church, and then they wanted that car back. And so a man came that was on the board and said, "Look, I'm coming to because they want your car back, but I want to give you this." And he handed my dad the keys to a 18-month-old Lincoln Continental. Now this was in the 70s. I'm 14 years old, so this was a gas-guzzling beast of a car, huge. And it was a serious upgrade for our family to have an 18-month-old car, because my dad liked to buy and sell cars, and he drove Mercedes and Volvos and all kinds of different cars, and we had a lot of 1960s era Lincolns with the suicide doors, and so we had a very interesting childhood. I did not grow up normal by any stretch of the imagination, and I used to look at my children often and say, "You have no chance of growing up normal." And so it was an interesting process of growing up the son of Savelle Phillips. And so I remember my dad, and he was very open about his feelings and his faith. And I remember my dad saying, "I thank God for this car, but my immediate response is, how am I going to put gas in it?" Because right at that moment in time, there were gas shortages. And they were so severe, and we had one of the most inept presidents on the face of the earth at the time. And those of you who are complaining about Trump, you didn't live through Jimmy Carter, most of you. And one of the worst presidents of all time. And I remember people having 18% mortgage loans, and it was just crazy. And he was a nutbag. I mean, he couldn't handle the pressure. He never should have been in office. And I resented the heck out of my parents for voting for him. So that shows you, even as a high school kid, I knew better than to vote for somebody like Jimmy Carter, because he tried to run the church by committee. I mean, the nation by committee, and was committed to principles that don't work. And so, in his ineptitude, he put in a rotating system where you could only fill up every other day on your car, and there were long lines, and people were getting in fights, and they were able to put in, after sitting in a long line, 4 gallons of gas in their car, or 5 gallons of gas in their car. And I remember this vividly. And yet I also know that what we're experiencing today is so much worse than that. And it was brought on not by anything the administration did or didn't do. It was brought on by sheer panic. Okay, so whether or not the virus is what they're saying it is, and I have no reason to doubt at this point that we have an issue here. It's a very real issue of some kind or another. There's so much going on. It's freak out mode. People are freaked out over all kinds of different news things that are coming. I understand that. But what I also understand is that when the United States freaks out, the world will freak out. And what we have done as a ministry is we've worked so hard to get our ministry where it is today that we've had to neglect certain things. So we buy about $9,000, hear that number, $9,000 worth of food every month worldwide. We buy $9,000 worth of food every single month. We just added close to 40 new teenagers to our program in February. Only one of them has a parcel. Oh, well, I shouldn't say that. We don't have many sponsors for these kids. Most of them are unsponsored and will need sponsors. We have added 11 new girls in Nepal that need sponsors. The government wants us to add more, and if we can move them into that house, we want to add more. But here's the deal. We have been buying food every 3 or 4 days, sometimes once a week. If we can, we're buying it once a week. And by the end of the week, it's pretty well gone. Can you imagine feeding over 150 people 3 meals a day, on one campus? And we have a new chef, and in February we added new teachers, and we added and their salaries, which had to be paid last week. We added a chef, we added all these students, and we have a live, vibrant, real campus, and things are going well, but the pantry is empty. The pantry's empty in Nepal, the pantry's empty in Uganda. In Utila, we don't have to worry about it, but we're praying for our friends in Utila. They're shutting the whole island down for 2 weeks. And they're really shutting it down. You can't, even the guys who work on the ferry can't get off the ferry when they go to the mainland. So they've brought some real harsh things in. Our friends in Rwanda, all the churches in Rwanda have been shut down as of this morning. The IRS in Canada has been shut down until April 5th. Many of our public services have been or will be shut down. So there is a panic, and some of that panic may be real. But here's the deal. Are you going to act in fear, or are you going to act in faith? Now, what we need to do is we need to put 90 days worth of food in those pantries. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I felt like we should do it for a long time. We just didn't have the money to do it. It didn't have to be a priority. Food was readily available. But there hasn't been a panic yet in Nepal or Uganda, but there will be. I have to operate on the premise that what has happened here will happen there. And if it happens there, it's going to be harder for them to restock the shelves. We're running on shelves being stocked sometimes every 8 hours. New things are coming into these stores. And that's one of the reasons that I started buying up more stuff than I needed, and being, if you will, a prepper. I guess I am. I'm just a Boy Scout, okay, at heart. And so we've got our couple of closets full of stuff. And the reason I did that is because I could see the weakness of the supply chain. It doesn't take the end of the world. It doesn't take Armageddon, folks. It takes a few newscasts to empty out stores. And you could see, when storms happened, or when there were hurricanes or tornadoes, that shelves would empty out. All it takes here in Texas and North Texas, a little bit of news about ice coming or a little snow. We have a joke about Snowmageddon. We have 2 days of 1 inch of snow a day, and the shelves are completely empty here. But to have it happen nationwide, and to have there be this time of trying to catch up with supplies and move supplies in and all the different things, the news that's coming out, is going to create a sense of panic around the world. It's going to create a sense of fear around the world. But God has not called us to fear. He's called us to faith. And without faith, it's impossible to please God. And the word for faith in the New Testament is pistis. It is a forward action. It's a movement. You cannot mentally ascend to the idea of faith. You do not, and the word we translate as believe is actually the verb of the word we translate as faith. And so whether you have what you have faith and you believe in, both require action, both require movement. Have you ever seen a guy who all he does is lift weights, but that's the only sport he's in? He's not actually using the weightlifting for anything besides building muscles and to show those muscles off. But he's not limber and he's not involved in a sport. You know, you could always tell a guy who was a swimmer because he had a swimmer's body. The body was impacted by the sport he was playing. Football players look like football players. And it's one thing to gain strength and muscle to use for a specific purpose. It's another thing to gain strength and muscle just to look good. You know, to be Arnold Schwarzenegger out there posing and popping those muscles out just for the camera. Right? And I believe that's the way a lot of people live out their Christianity. They mentally ascend to an idea. They're couch Christians. And so this is going to require some faith, folks. And one of the greatest ways to practice your faith is your giving. It's the most consistent challenge to our faith every day that God has said, look, take a portion of what you make, and before you spend it on anything else, you take that portion and you give. And some of you face the challenge of you didn't go to church Sunday and you watched it online. And the question is, did you give? Okay. And fortunately, those things have been made a lot easier these days. But if we approach this whole scenario, if our entire donor list responds in fear instead of faith, we won't last 2 months. Okay, that's not a negative prediction. That's a reality. And so I need you to be people of faith. What you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. And so if you need food, if you know, hey, I need to buy some toilet paper. Look, I went to Costco's. I bought 2 packages of toilet paper. I did not buy more. I bought 2 packages of toilet paper. Those 2 packages of toilet paper cost me $44. Okay? And then I bought some wet wipes, and those were like almost $20 a piece as well. So I spent about $60 on stuff to wipe our rears with in the Phillips home. If I could spend $60 on toilet paper in a time like this, I could invest $60 to feed kids, to provide food security. Did you hear those words? Food security. We've got 1,000 mouths to feed worldwide. We need to provide some food security. We need to fill the pantries up now before there's a panic. We've got about 72 hours, folks. And the bottom line is, look, as long as this thing is going on, I'll be here every day. I mean, I plan just to come out here and sit here every day and talk to you. Our friends in Canada are sitting at home. They're locked down. They can't go to work. Hi, David and Judy. David, by the way, David and Judy are doing a wonderful job with our website. And if you need some website work done, will you call my office, 972-771-8886. David's sitting at home right now with not a lot to do, and he would do a great job for you. If you need a website done, if you need some hosting that want to know is absolutely secure, this is a great way to go. Wonderful couple. Thank you, David and Judy, for all you've done for God Loves Kids in the last few weeks and months. And I hope that you can come as planned in April to be with us. But just know, if you're out there and you need a website done, hook up with David and Judy by calling our office, 972-771-8886. So we have empty pantries. We have a bunch of hungry kids. They have to be fed. These kids have to be fed. Not only do they have to be fed, we've got a bunch of girls, teenage girls, living in a home who have needs that teenage girls have. Those things sell out quickly as well. Those practical items that people need. We're going to need toilet paper in Africa. You know, we have bidets set up, faucet things at each toilet. Thank God. We have running water. Thank God. But you know what? We really needed an emergency generator in Africa. We need about a $10,000 emergency diesel generator for the safety of our kids. And so a lot of these things I was going to, I tried to give you guys a break. I tried not to say anything about, giving in large dollar forms or we had a huge need when I came back from Africa, because you did so great helping us while we were in Africa. And there was a rally and we got so much done, and we opened the school and we had a music festival with almost 2,000 people in attendance. We've got Muslims getting saved every single day. The church is going great. The children's ministry on Sundays is going great. The school is doing really well. Everything is going wonderful. I'm not panicked, but I'm concerned. And there's a difference between fear and wisdom. There's a difference between operating in fear and operating in wisdom, and being prepared and knowing what the signs of the times are, what the seasons are. When there's a tsunami wave coming out, the first sign is water disappears. And so if you're standing on the beach and water disappears, you better take it serious. Why it disappeared, how it disappeared, doesn't really matter. Maybe you should move away from the beach if the water disappears. Okay, so we're at that move away from the beach moment. We need to fill our pantries now. Not 2 days from now, not 5 days from now, not 2 weeks from now. We need to do as much as we possibly can. So if I need $9,000 worth of food a month to take care of our family worldwide, that means right now, today, I need, drum roll please, and the total is $27,000, if my math is correct. So I need $27,000 just for food. Now, why do we need 90 days worth of food? Well, you just saw why. This last week in America proves why we need to have 90 days worth of food. The chicken project's going well. I'm instructing them to buy some more rabbits so we get our rabbit population up to 100. At some point we want to put in fish tanks. I don't know if we can do that right away, but right now we need beans, we need rice, okay? We need staple food that if all hell breaks loose, that the kids still have something to eat. We need 100-pound sacks of it stored up in our storage bin. We need to buy 90 days worth of food now, not 10 days from now, not 2 weeks from now. We need to buy it right now. I got 72 hours to act. And if you give today, there's a lag time. So if you give today, it takes a day or two for me to get the money, have access to it in our bank account. It takes another day to send it to Uganda or Nepal. And so they won't have access to it. If you gave it right now, this minute, they won't have access to it for 72 hours. And we don't have the money to advance this at all. And so I really need everybody who's hearing my voice to step up to the plate. If you're not on our email list, get on our email list. This is crucial. We have some exciting things going on. We're within moments of moving the girls into their home, permanent home that we've been working on for 5 years. 5 long years is coming to a head. So in this wacky, God knew this was going to happen. He's sovereign. This hasn't caught him off guard at all. But boy, 2020 has been a year, because we opened a school that we worked on for over 3 years. In February, we were moving the girls. In April, we need $5,000 or $6,000 of construction money right now to finish up the electrical, finish up the painting. But we're moving those girls in April, regardless of what happens. But we need that money right now. We need food money right now. Food. You have teenagers, you have kids, you have grandkids. Do you want their cupboards to be empty? Do you want them to be looking at you going, we're hungry. We don't have anything on our plate. Or maybe we're hungry and this is day 3 of our forced fast. I can't handle that, folks. Okay? I can't handle that. I mean, I wish I was there right now. Everything within me wishes I was in Uganda right now, doing everything I could to help them prepare for what is most likely going to come down. And so if there's panic here, there will be panic there. It's just a matter of time. If there's problems here, there will be problems there. We had a very difficult time finding a source for bleach in Uganda, but we found it. We need to buy up some bleach. We need to buy up some practical things along that line. I've instructed them to start cleaning the school daily. And I don't know what else to do except we're believing God for great things. And we've already had miracles take place. God is a miracle working God. And we don't have it because we don't ask for it. So I'm asking you for money now. Okay, it's very simple. And you can give that money by texting God Loves Kids, all one word, God Loves Kids, to 77977. That's God Loves Kids, 77977. I'm sorry that we can't do a fancy production. I can't show you little starving kids. I can't show you cute little puppy dogs that have been left beside the side of the street. All you have is my words. And I hope you hear the passion coming through. I am a man of faith. I believe God. We step out in faith. We fight for the things of God in a very real spiritual dimension where there are demons and there are very real battles to be won and battles to be fought. This is a real battle. This is a real test. We're going to overcome. We're going to see God do miracles. We're going to see God do great things. And you can be a part of the greatness of this testimony. And you can stop navel gazing, if you will. I mean, there's going to be a real temptation for everybody to cocoon. That's what they're telling us to do. Get in your home, look at Netflix, fix you some chili, without beans so you don't have to use too much toilet paper, and just camp out. Pretend you're in a cabin for 2 or 3 weeks. That's what we're being told to do. But I'm asking you to look out into the world, to be His hand extended, to show the grace of God and the mercy of God and the love of God to some children halfway around the world that without us, look, our home in Nepal said, look, if we lose your support, we have no other support. So the home will be repossessed, the children will be dispersed, and there's no place for them to go. There's no place for these girls to go. They will be back out on the street, or they'll be victims of sex trafficking immediately. And so we have to have funds right now. I can't let that happen. We cannot let that happen. This is not some fundraising ploy. This is a real emergency because we've got to get out in front of this thing and as much as possible. And we have a very short window to do it. And I need your help today. We have no backup funds left. We've spent them all because of timing issues on the campus. We had to have the school started by February 3rd. And we had to have all the things in place that we had in place by February 3rd. And I had to go and oversee the opening of the school, February 3rd. We have girls moving into their home in the middle of April. And there is a lack of funds right now, but God is going to do miracles, and you can be a part of that miracle. You can be a part of His hand extended. And I'm believing God to speak to you right now. I believe that many of you He's already spoken to. You're just hearing my voice today. And understand, Yes, we did our due diligence. We've tried. I mean, I took over enough seeds. Actually, we wrote about it, 20,000 pounds of food. I believe I've taken over enough seeds, non-GMO seeds, to grow 50,000 pounds of food in Uganda. But it takes time. You can't just do it overnight. And it takes space. And we don't really have enough space to grow 50,000 pounds of food just like that. So it takes time. There's a time lag. Our pantries are empty. There's a tremendous need in Uganda. There's a tremendous need in Nepal. We have our kids in Nagaland that I'm concerned about. We need to make sure that they don't go hungry either. And all this is something that, you know, I'm the leader. You know, the buck stops here. And I take personal responsibility for successes and failures. Really, I don't take a lot of personal responsibility for success, but I do take it for failure. And you know, because it's the sword of the Lord and of Gideon time. And we have to do our part. God will do his part. God is speaking to many of you right now. I don't know what you're going to give, but man, no matter, if you sat down and wrote us a check for $1 million, it would not be too much. We would need every penny of it to do what God's called us to do. So no gift is too large or excessive to help us do what God's called us to do. We will do greatness with whatever resources you put in our hands. Trust me, greatness will be achieved with the resources you put in our hands. We have over and over and over again fulfilled our promises. You have given, and we have shown you what we are doing with that money. We've shown you wells being dug and towers going up, chicken coops being built, kids in uniforms, and a clean, neat campus, new roofs going on, new additions being made, buildings being torn down. You've seen it all. You can go on my Facebook and you can look at the pictures for hours, you know. And we have done what we said we were going to do. And what we're going to do is we're going to achieve greatness in a time of crisis. If I have anything to do with it, we're going, and I'm going to keep, look, I don't know, maybe 200 people will see this video. We got 10,000 likes on God Loves Kids. I've got close to 3,000 friends on my page, but because of the way Facebook operates, maybe 200 people will see this video, 300 at the most. So we have to boost the video, which I do not want to do. I don't want to spend money to boost videos and market this way. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to keep making videos like this over and over and over again until God does what we've asked him to do. He's already made the provision. It's already out there. Join with me in prayer that God will provide for this ministry as I pray for you and your family, that God will provide for you. Because what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you.